Hello, it's Pixie doing another video. What I'm going to tell you today, I've been doing some work around flat earth theories and research, because I think now basically it would throw light and everything gets thrown into as a theory. It always was anyway, but the heliocentric view of the world was sort of decided, well, that fits quite well with everything. Let's keep this model, and it became rooted and embedded within cultures throughout the whole world. Even though there's older views of the world that are slightly demonised, what they used. I mean, they used kind of as markers in order to suggest that things are false. You know, like they say the Vikings in the past thought they'd fall off the edge of the world. Maybe they could do. I mean, basically no one knows the whole truth of what happened there in the past, and at that level of fear there was probably some truth to it. Also, it may be the tale that stops people going and exploring and finding out what's really going on. So looking at what I've been doing research on, I was thinking, well, how would a flat earth be plausible? Because everything else is basically circular in appearance out there. I mean, actually visiting them might be different, like the moon's. You only see one face of the moon, so you don't really know what's going on the other side. Looking up my research, I would say that you got things like the Nibiru sort of factor added in there, and that in the past you had Tiamat, and that there was a collision of some sort that happened that was a cosmic catastrophe, and as a result would have deformed the planet, or left something behind anyway. I think with the tectonic plates, that's an indicator of some disaster that's taken place that's caused separation between the plates, and that kind of dividedness that exists there. Basically, historically, that there's more to it, and it would place everything within the position of being a theory rather than being an absolute truth, because I don't think we can ever enter that realm of thinking. But the imagery I see is that potentially a collision with something that's like, let's say for this Earth, there is a hollowness to it, that it would have like a bit like a football, slightly deformed it in its shape, and basically would have give the structure to create this flat Earth type model or thinking based on a collision strike. What the moon is, whether it's a part of the Earth or not, I don't know. It could be something else. It could be a moon from the collision that came attached to it. The fact that its face is always facing and dragging along next to the Earth is a telltale sign of some sort of something a bit more closer than a normal relationship a heavenly body has with a planet, because it's this closeness. Not less it exists in other planets, but yeah, it's yet to be seen or understood over that. So yeah. Hi, this is carrying on from my talk. Some other areas of sort of spiritual meditations type stuff. Yeah, basically I can kind of see a 3D model of this type of deflated bowl type thing spinning through space. But what would be interesting, I mean, it doesn't matter what model you believe, what is beyond the North Pole and the South Pole? You know, why isn't it used as a route for flying? You know, you could make planes that could fly over it as a shortcut, because you'd save money. And the elite know that, it'd save money, and so that would make sense. But they don't use it. So if my model is correct, you've got an inner Earth, and you've got your outer Earth. Your outer Earth has been flattened, so you've got a flat Earth. And then from around the sides of it is more, so you've got a massive amount of water expanse underneath it. That's what the planet was. And you've got the hammered bracelet and all your asteroid belt, and that's mainly got loads of water in it. So what would be interesting is where did that water come from? You know, if I'm right, it's this collision, Nibiru hit this moon from Nibiru, walloped the planet. It basically was like someone treading on something that's got a hollow centre to it, and it concaved, and that concave caused these cracks, and that cracks created the tectonic plates. We're still floating on something in a core below there. I mean, this would be an amazing spin on the theory. I mean, basically what I'm picking up is like I got told what it was, a black satellite download. So it's like a 3D image coming to my mind. But I have to understand that I have quite a powerful mind anyway, so I can generate what I want to a degree. But I don't. This imagery didn't ask for it to be there; it just turned up. And it also means there's resources being controlled on the other side. So that would be very interesting. I do think the heliocentric relates to other forces in the universe. I touched upon in a previous talk, but I think actually this is probably the main one to have it on, is that shapes that have magnetes, so you've got, well, most things have, is that they would form an orb-type structures around them. So if I could just see in a magnetic spectrum around things, that's what I would see. So at a distance, I've just got a massive electromagnetic orb around me. But physically, my body has the soul body or light body is reflecting. So as energy is coming in, it's reflecting out, and this information is, people can read it. I mean, if you think about it, if you had this different spectrum of light, if you was a being with a different type of sensory perception, different spectrum, they might just see you with the muscles, they might not see you without the skin on, or they might just see you in a different form. So that you think how, you know, if you're worried about seeing something that's like something out there, ET or something, can you imagine what they would be seeing if they can't see you the way you see yourself? It would be quite freaky experience for them. So I mean that's one side of reality, but I think with the with electric and light, it travels in straight lines. So as I mentioned, the nature of something of a force will take on its structure and resonance and frequency. So like I mentioned, things will become more round over time if they just use a magnetic structure as their kind of affects the atomic structure basically as well, and that's more in the diomagnetics rather than the polar magnetic fields, because the polar magnetic fields, like you get the torus fields and so on, would have a tendency to change the shape slightly. That's kind of the stuff I'm picking up, because there's stronger fields in different positions, but the diamagnetism would be an equal polarity type force around the whole unit. And we are diamagnetic, and there's a lot of other things that are diamagnetic, and that's why they've got a type of rounded edge, like trees, for instance. You know, they don't grow up square, do they? They've got a they could do. You know, you could force them to grow into a square shape, but the nature of their actual, like I say, touching upon that type of realm of the quantum physics, then that's what I think. That's where that comes into. But with light, it will bend outwards into a straight beam. If you look at the things like the rainbows, they go in bands. They don't blur. The band doesn't blur out. It could do if a light beam come in. It's split by spectrum, and it would filter out into different types of elements and spectrums within the light frequencies. But what happens is it bends all the way around. Now, what you're seeing is a band of light. You can bend it around into a complete circle, but what you've got in the middle of it, and also on the outside of it, is there will be still different rainbows that you can't see that fit in the middle of it. In essence, that's a portal, because it's a spectrum of light that's come in. It's been manipulated by its physical surroundings, and it's formulated a shape like a doorway. So with them legends about leprechauns and gold and things like that, they may not be so far off. There may be some truth there. So you know, if you touch upon these other things, I mean, I would say that like, my view of the world is that basically most things are a theory, and it's yet to be proven by your own self. That's the point of living, enjoying the experience of life. Like if somebody says this food tastes great, you don't tick a box and say that food tastes great and that's the only answer you need to know. You'd go and try it yourself. And then you'd say, well, it's okay, it wasn't as good as this type of food. But the fact is, you've had the experience, and then you've extrapolated the knowledge related to that experience, rather than running on somebody else's. And it's the same for institutional fields and structures. They would do the same. They just want you to fit into the box. But you're resilient, and you are this circular shape that doesn't fit in any boxes. Always resist the boundaries it's put into. You should do, otherwise you've given up in some area. I mean, sometimes you do. I'm not going to argue at work about silly little things. It'll be a pointless exercise in itself. But there are things you see, you think, well, that's a pointless task doing it. You do it. You just have to bite your tongue, basically, and get on with it. Otherwise, sometimes you just fall out of enemies, and you'll never progress in this shaped industry structure, corporate structure. But to understand how it works, the politics, you will get ahead. If you can play both sides of the game, then you're already there. People, the elite or whoever, say, well, he understands that he's fallen into the system, but he understands it's just a system, and the system's been set up as a form of control. So it's just these things. But basically, with magnetic fields, I've also touched upon, is that there's ranges. So outside a certain distance, I will take on this like an orb structure based on this diamagnetic field. Same with light. Light will come out of one type of colour or source, and it will divide up. The difference with a laser is that there's a thinner band of light frequency there, so it doesn't really have much to store by. So that's how that works. I've touched upon things like stars. So at the point of where the light's going, the direct point is information from that star, and you will read that. Basically, there's a translation process. You can't see everything around you. It's a system that's been set up in your mind that will relate to the universe and how you see it. So so there was like a debate on how far stars are away, and basically, who knows? Until you get to that star, you do not know the distance. The other thing with space law and time and stuff like that is that within the boundaries of this world is that there is a set time continuum, and that's governed by the planet itself in some way. But because there's been where astronauts have gone outside of space, come back in, and there's been changes in their time. So, you know, it's a bit like that, like an older version of Planet of the Apes. I think they went out and then they come back at another time completely. They went into some sort of time vortex, and then they come back to the same Earth, but it was in probably a different parallel dimension or something, and certain changes had taken place that changed everything and thrown it on its head. So, okay, what have I touched upon? I touched upon Tiamat, I touched upon the collision. I mean, there's the Sumerian cuneiform tablets. I don't think they would have spent all that time making people basically knock up these tablets if they wanted to tell stories and lies, because they don't have the need to create these false media. They're not. They are advanced, and they are different to us. They won't waste valuable resources trying to fool people, and they don't care so much about slavery as that we do. So yeah, basically, so I have to take what they're saying as quite strong information, because you know, basically, how long will it take to make all these tablets, and all that effort and energy to create that. And then you've got Sitchin's work, and then his translation of different things. Now, I haven't studied all of his work. I'm just aware of watching videos and documentaries what that potentially means. But there's a lot more translation work to go on. I'm just saying that there's some basic facts in there that do stand out that need to be looked at. You know, and by doing these videos is not to alienate people's beliefs. I don't want an army of trolls after me or something saying, well, it doesn't say that in the Bible or whatever. I'm just saying, go out and read some other books. There's nothing I say that I mean, yeah, of course I do meditation, I do some spiritual stuff, but I do research as well. So 10, maybe 100 people have said similar stuff, and then I've just sort of connected the things, you know. It's a bit like I said that the Nazis are still alive and they're in America, and it's like people like, are you on drugs and all this sort of stuff. But because there's no intellectual structure to their conversation, I would assume that they are either some type of lower caste human, or they're emotionally driven, and they only care about self-recognition or some other thing. So they're not even on the spiritual plane yet. So they're like children. So this will be sign off. All right, bye. Oh yeah, this is Pigsy continuing his little talk. I sort of explained the background theories and stuff in relation to a flatter Earth model. I think all the models maybe have to be merged into one, and that they're all three parts of the whole, basically. So I've touched upon Tiamat, result of the flat Earth, how the tectonic plates, why they exist. I have to draw a picture of it. I think I'll pop it on this video. That there's some side of the planets being covered up, and hidden knowledge. There's the occult side of this world, and that is likely to be a lot bigger than it appears. So a picture from space, and being edited slightly, would possibly show some form of curvature in there, but you've got a concave area that basically relates to where we are. So that's a theory. That's a lot of theory work. Also, the moon was involved in some way in the collision. That's why it has its one face always showing to the Earth, and it's not spinning because it was spinning before it hit, and then it recoiled, and now has kind of bonded with the electromagnetic field of the planet, and so has become a part of it. It's encompassed within its field. So that's why it's spinning and facing the Earth. So that's that part of it. I wouldn't want to sort of turn back everything and say, you know, everything's wrong, draw a line through it. Even if elite people aim to mislead people by telling them things, this is the way it is, and then they went off and they researched it and they tried to make everything fit this model, the people that were deceived made the best interpretation of the information around them. And there's going to be truths hidden within what they've learned, even if they were misled. There's other areas of information. So I've mentioned about light travels in straight lines, and as it travels, it tends to travel in bands, and it formulates, like I say, I mentioned, lines rather than curvatures of light and things like that. The only time it becomes curved is where it enters a field of energy that's highly sort of magnetised, or maybe quantumized, if you want to put it that way as well. They're like a portal or something like that, something that would have a direct influence upon the substance by which it travels in. Because space is full of light. It's a quantum field, to be honest. There's something in it. It's not empty. It's empty as you can't measure it by our five sense reality. You'd have to go into different dimensions in order to do that. That's how it works. So these are these little sort of personal discoveries I've mentioned about certain. Well, I touch upon it again actually, about psychic abilities and stuff like that, and that I had a dream of a place, and I thought it might be the Kelper, or basically it's like a new Earth. And at the moment, it's like colonies are getting set up on it. I could see it in a kind of dream state, but it's very vivid, ginormous planet. Looking at it, there was a giant hill, and on each side of it there was basically colonies are set up, and it looks like it's based on a sort of Earth type community, and you've got rows of houses on each side of this road. The hill goes quite far down, and then at the end of the road, like a T-junction, there's just a forest that goes on hundreds of miles, and it basically, there's symmetry in this forest. It's just like whatever's bioformed it. It's just sort of like put them out there. They look like a bit like pines, the plants, or either that like a eucalyptus type trees that have just gone for miles. And then in the distance I could see that it was a straight line, So that goes back to that light principle, and band frequencies and travel in a straight line. And then I can see rising on the horizon is a humongous moon. To be honest, it looks like the size of the Earth by it's closer, and it has a massive dent in it, or something. It has a massive crater in it, almost like what I hate to say, it's almost like looking at the Death Star, and that kind of, it's got a massive crater within it. And then I can see some ship coming in. Looks like to drop some people off, to be honest. And there's different races there. Now, I can see a race that's black, basically. They have bigger eyes, and they have, I don't think they've got irises. I think it's just quite dark pupils. So there's a variation of black races there. I also sense that they might have connections with Earth anyway. So there's something, because there's always this debate about colour and race, and why more whites get involved with more alien type stuff and blah blah blah. I think they're possibly because they're more mixed race, but when it comes to different races, it's a bit like the Israelites. They're quite, they don't tend to mix that much. So you've got different black ET alien type races that are a bit more. I mean, they would probably see themselves as a purebred. They're like your Anunnakis for that particular race. So I think you've possibly got key races that have been involved in the Eden project, and which is this Earth, and they are basically like the apex of it. They are your creator gods from that side of things, or they're the older races that relate to you. So that's something I picked up that may be useful. There's also spiritual telepathy. I was sat indoors yesterday, and what I had happen was that I sensed something. I asked, why am I wearing a coat? So it's like, so because I'm indoors, it obviously wouldn't make sense to a being that was studying human culture that I'm wearing extra clothing indoors. So it was a legitimate question. So in my kind of head, I answered that one, because basically I just come in and sat down and just just started to relax a bit, and I thought I'd take it off in a bit, and I still had it on about half an hour later. So and it also had like this morning, and it came in when I first woke up. Is the difference between a father and a dad? What's the difference between a father and a dad? So that's just a weird sort of question. I don't know why that had come up, but I explained that they have they are slightly, one's kind of more the carer, parent in his role, and the other one's also the biological relates to it as well. Some people say I've got a dad, I've also got a father, so the person that raised them. So that's the difference, but in context it can vary between the two. So and then you've got other areas I've touched, but I'm going to go back over, because I'll probably like I say, the remix of other videos I was doing. You get people's perception of, you get like trolls on the internet, and mental health. Now, if they find someone who says something unusual to them, they're quite quick to attack them, and it's a sign of quite immature, basically. Some people, they're doing it for a particular reason. Maybe it's a buzz, maybe it's because they lack self-esteem, they got personal problems. I mean, they actually have the mental health problems, because mental health in itself is where somebody becomes dangerous to themselves and dangerous to others. If they're anything else, they're fine. If you're an extrovert,
What's wrong with that? Society should cater for every type of person. If not, that's how that people get alienated, because you don't conform to their way of looking at things. You know, and I see it often that people conform to either science, religion, and the other one just follow along the crowd, and then they just write stupid things. It's a waste of time to attack them, to be honest. I'd just move on, and then let them waste their time looking through stuff, reading it. I mean, there is talk where people they tend to laugh, ridicule, attack, and then accept things. There's some sort of period, you know. But if that's true, that's their own learning cycle. Not everyone follows that actual pattern. Like, I might find something amusing, then I research it, and then I fathom if it's a possibility, and then I go through a process where I keep reanalysing it, and I retain a type of speculative intelligence around it. So I won't rush to conclude anything. I think this world is covered on theories and money, basically. If the money fits the theory, or the theory fits the money, then it's a go-go. Otherwise it won't. There's always a lot of suppression and so on. And the other thing about this planet, going backwards, is I was asked, would I like to go there? So I've looked at that option. It may be a choice in the future, within this lifetime. That'd be brilliant, or the next lifetime. So that'd be cool. You know, but these experiences are not, like I said, with the criteria, they don't cause an issue to myself. They don't cause an issue to other people. In fact, they do the reverse. They give me a sense of meaning. People that just want to fall into a materialistic existence, then you've got to say, well, what is the true value? There isn't any. You don't need to exist, basically. I mean, if you're not working, then what? You just serve society. There's no spiritual essence or existence in that person. You know, what is your purpose in life? You've got these deep-rooted questions that people need to ask themselves. Basically, if they just do everything they're told and they don't question anything, then they go through life, and at some point they will hit that wall, and there'll be questions they need to ask. Like, the closer they get towards death, they've got to ask themselves, what do they believe is beyond that? Because they can't avoid it. I mean, they can buy all the distractions they like in the world, but there will be a time, and it might be them days before they go. It could be that they know they're going to die in a few years' time, or, you know, or basically it hits them when some of their friends or some other grieving process kicks in. But people have got to understand what life is and look for these deep-rooted mysteries. I mentioned that most of the things in this reality are theory. So then what you need to do is you need to look at these theories and you need to make them work for yourself. Not work for others, work for yourself. They fit your paradigm and your understanding that you're achieving something down your spiritual path, I say. So anyway, this is just something I wanted to add on to this other video. So take care and speak to you soon.